Star Trek transformed from cult television phenomenon to cinematic colossus with a single, unforgettable sequence, the USS Enterprise reveal. For an unprecedented 5 full minutes, audiences sat mesmerized as the camera lovingly caressed every curve and contour of the redesigned starship, all while Jerry Goldsmith's triumphant score declared this wasn't just a reunion with old friends, but a grand cinematic event demanding to be experienced on the largest screen possible. Released in December 1979, the motion picture emerged during science fiction's cinematic renaissance. Star Wars had changed the game 2 years earlier. Close Encounters had elevated the genre's artistic potential, and studios were suddenly willing to invest serious money in space adventures.
Spock. Jim.
Paramount saw an opportunity to resurrect their dormant television property and transform it into a franchise juggernaut. They spared no expense. With a staggering $46 million budget, equivalent to roughly $195 million today, the motion picture became one of the most expensive films ever made at that time. It would eventually gross $139 million worldwide, enough to ensure Trek's big screen future, even if it fell short of Star Wars level success. But this wasn't Star Wars, and it never tried to be. While audiences expected laser battles and space dogfights, director Robert Wise and creator Gene Roddenberry delivered something radically different, a methodical, philosophical journey more reminiscent of 2001, a space odyssey than the swashbuckling adventure many anticipated. The motion picture represents Star Trek's most ambitious attempt to bring truly cerebral science fiction to mainstream audiences, a visual tone poem about humanity's relationship with technology and our place in the cosmos. The motion picture's visual effects represented nothing short of a revolution in filmmaking technology. After scrapping nearly 2 years of work by special effects, House Robert Abel and Associates, Paramount made the crucial decision to bring in Douglas Trumbull, the visionary behind 2001, A Space Odyssey's groundbreaking imagery. With just 7 months until release, Trumbull and his team delivered over 200 complex effects shots that still impress today. The film's most stunning achievement might be the wormhole sequence, where the Enterprise is caught in a spatial distortion. Using a combination of slit-scan photography, carefully programmed motion control cameras, and practical lighting effects, the sequence creates a disorienting visual spectacle that feels genuinely alien. This technique, refined from Trumbull's earlier work on 2001's iconic Stargate sequence, used a custom-built apparatus where light was photographed through a slit, while the camera moved along a precisely calculated path. Even more impressive was the creation of V'ger itself, an alien entity visualized as a massive 12-mile-long cloud complex with a mysterious vessel at its center. These sequences employed revolutionary compositing techniques that layered dozens of separate elements into single, awe-inspiring shots. The interior of V'ger represented the pinnacle of practical effects artistry, combining miniature photography, matte paintings, front projection, and chemical cloud tanks. The Enterprise itself underwent a dramatic reimagining for its silver screen debut. Designer Andrew Probert, working under art director Richard Taylor, maintained the iconic silhouette while adding detail that could withstand cinematic scrutiny. The ship's exterior gained intricate hull plating, subtle weathering, and internal illumination that brought it to life. The 8-foot model, meticulously crafted with fiber optics and custom paint applications, cost over $150,000 in 1979 dollars and required specialized rigs just to move it between shooting setups. The film's innovative motion control photography system, developed specifically for the production, allowed for unprecedented precision in camera movements. Each complex shot required programming exact coordinates for multiple passes, with the camera repeating identical movements while capturing different elements that would later be composited together. This technology enabled the film's signature look: slow, majestic camera moves that gave weight and scale to the spacecraft and cosmic phenomena. Behind the scenes, the production faced legendary challenges. Originally conceived as the pilot for a new Trek television series called Phase 2, the project morphed mid-development into a feature film. This resulted in frantic rewrites, set redesigns, and a rushed post-production schedule that forced teams to work around the clock. The final cut was reportedly completed just days before the film's premiere, with some effect shots being finalized mere hours before they were seen by the public. The film's bridge set represented the largest investment, costing nearly $1 million in 1979 dollars, and featuring operational computer systems and custom-designed workstations. Production designer Harold Michelson created a circular, multi-level environment that emphasized both functionality and dramatic potential. Jerry Goldsmith's score deserves special recognition as perhaps the film's most enduring contribution to popular culture. His main theme would later become the signature music for the Next Generation series, while his Klingon theme established the sonic identity for Trek's most famous antagonists. Goldsmith employed unusual instruments like the blaster beam, an aluminum beam strung with piano wires and amplified with pickups, to create the mysterious, otherworldly sounds of V'ger. The soundtrack's blend of electronic and orchestral elements perfectly complemented the film's themes of technology meeting humanity. The motion picture's emotional core hinges on three central performances that capture Star Trek's essential character dynamics while pushing them in new directions. Leonard Nimoy's return as Spock almost didn't happen, having distanced himself from the character after the original series ended. Only after extensive renegotiations and script revisions did Nimoy agree to don the pointed ears again. His performance captures a fascinating evolution of the character, a Spock who has attempted to purge all emotion through the Vulcan discipline of Kolinar, only to be drawn back to his human companions when confronted with questions even pure logic cannot answer. William Shatner brings unexpected nuance to James T. Kirk, portraying him as a man struggling with his own irrelevance. Promoted to admiral and chained to a desk, Kirk essentially hijacks the Enterprise from its new commander out of desperate need to reclaim his purpose. The famous line, "Risk is our business," from the original series,
"Risk is our business,"
takes physical form as Kirk recklessly pushes to reconnect with his true identity. Shatner conveys this midlife crisis with surprising restraint, his legendary dramatic pauses serving the character rather than overwhelming it. One of the boldest casting choices was Persis Khambatta as Lieutenant Ilia. The Indian model and actress made history as one of the first internationally recognized South Asian women in a major American science fiction production. Her completely shaved head, a requirement she accepted despite being warned it might damage her modeling career, created an instantly iconic silhouette. When Ilia is absorbed and recreated by V'ger, Khambatta delivers a fascinatingly mechanical performance that nevertheless hints at the humanoid consciousness trapped within the probe's programming. The most memorable sequence remains the film's finale, where Commander Decker, played by Stephen Collins, chooses to merge with both V'ger and the Ilia probe. This moment of transcendence, visualized through practical lighting effects and in-camera dissolves, perfectly embodies Star Trek's optimistic view that humanity and technology can evolve together into something greater than either alone. The scene's power comes not from spectacular action, but from its philosophical implications, asking what might lie beyond our current form of existence. A quintessentially Star Trek question that many fans felt recaptured the spirit of the original series' best episodes. The motion picture's theatrical release met with decidedly mixed reactions. Critics nicknamed it the motionless picture and Star Trek the slow motion picture, criticizing its deliberate pacing and lack of action. The New York Times memorably declared it a sermon about the mechanical deity, while Roger Ebert gave it a more generous 3 stars, appreciating its visual splendor while acknowledging its dramatic shortcomings. Paramount executives, anxious about recouping their massive investment, pushed for a more action-oriented approach in future installments, a directive that would directly influence the Wrath of Khan's development. The film's commercial performance tells a complicated story. While its $139 million worldwide gross against a $46 million budget would typically indicate success, the enormous marketing costs, estimated at $15 million, significantly reduced profitability. Opening weekend numbers broke records, but attendance dropped sharply in subsequent weeks as word of mouth spread about the film's cerebral nature. Paramount's internal documents, later made public, revealed that executives considered the film a disappointment, despite its respectable box office, leading to the studio wresting creative control from Gene Roddenberry for future installments. Fans themselves were deeply divided. Some praised the film's serious approach to science fiction and its fidelity to the philosophical underpinnings of the original series. Others lamented the lack of character interaction and humor that had defined the show. This schism within fandom led to passionate convention debates throughout the early 1980s about what Star Trek should be, a serious science fiction property or a character-driven space adventure. The question would ultimately be answered by the Wrath of Khan's more balanced approach, which satisfied both camps while establishing the template for future films. What many critics missed at the time was director Robert Wise's intentional homage to 2001, A Space Odyssey, a film that similarly prioritized visual storytelling and cosmic themes over character conflict. Wise, an Oscar-winning director known for classics like The Day the Earth Stood Still and The Sound of Music, brought a distinctly cinematic sensibility to the material. He viewed Star Trek not as a television property, but as an opportunity to create thoughtful, visually driven science fiction for a mainstream audience. The film's reputation has evolved significantly over decades, particularly following the 2001 release of the Director's Edition. This version allowed Wise to refine the edit, improve pacing issues, and complete effects shots that had been rushed for the original release. Modern viewers often appreciate its meditative quality and philosophical depth, elements that feel refreshingly mature in today's franchise-dominated landscape. While even die-hard fans acknowledge its flaws, many now view it as an imperfect but ambitious vision that stayed true to Roddenberry's humanistic ideals. In 2022, the Director's Edition received a comprehensive 4K restoration and expansion supervised by producer David C. Fine, who had worked closely with Wise on the 2001 version. This definitive presentation, featuring remastered visual effects and newly discovered footage, has further rehabilitated the film's reputation among both critics and fans. Contemporary reviews frequently note how the film's practical effects and model work possess a tangible quality lacking in modern CGI-dominated productions, while its deliberate pacing feels refreshingly contemplative in an era of frenetically edited blockbusters. Among the most fascinating behind-the-scenes details is the film's 11th hour screenplay revision. When initial drafts featuring a villain called V'ger proved unsatisfying, writer Alan Dean Foster proposed the revelation that the entity was actually Earth's Voyager 6 probe, a fictional successor to NASA's real Voyager program, having evolved after contact with a machine planet. This elegant connection to actual space exploration aligned perfectly with Star Trek's semi-realistic universe and provided the philosophical underpinnings for the entire narrative. Another little-known fact involves the film's distinctive uniforms. The beige and pastel costumes, widely panned by fans, were actually constructed with memory fabric that required constant steam treatments between takes to maintain their form. The uniforms proved so uncomfortable and impractical that the entire wardrobe department rebelled, and actors reported difficulty performing basic movements. This disaster directly led to the complete redesign of Starfleet uniforms for subsequent films, a rare instance where production failures visibly influenced an entire franchise's aesthetic evolution. Legacy and modern relevance. The motion picture's legacy extends far beyond its immediate reception, having fundamentally shaped the visual and thematic language of Star Trek for decades. The redesigned Enterprise became the definitive version of the ship, influencing every subsequent iteration across films and television. Jerry Goldsmith's majestic score became the foundation for Star Trek, the next generation's theme and established musical motifs that would echo throughout the franchise. Even the film's wormhole and V'ger visualization techniques pioneered effects approaches that would become standard in science fiction filmmaking. Its philosophical questions about artificial intelligence and consciousness feel remarkably prescient in today's world of rapid AI advancement. V'ger's evolution from human creation to sentient being, seeking to understand its creators and purpose, mirrors contemporary discussions about machine learning and the potential for digital consciousness. The film's ultimate answer, that the next evolutionary step involves merging human experience with technological capability, resonates with modern transhumanist ideas about how humanity might transcend its biological limitations. The environmental themes embedded in the narrative remain equally relevant. V'ger's journey began with a human probe seeking knowledge about the universe, only to return with questions about its own existence. This circular relationship between creator and creation reflects our own complex relationship with the technologies we've unleashed upon our environment. The film suggests that true progress requires not just technological advancement, but wisdom about how to integrate that technology with human values, a message that speaks directly to our current climate and technological crises. What ultimately distinguishes the motion picture from its more action-oriented sequels is its willingness to embrace wonder and ambiguity. While later Trek films often constructed clear antagonists and conventional narrative arcs, this first cinematic outing dared to present an entity that was neither villain nor hero, merely different, seeking answers just as we do. In this sense, it remains the purest distillation of Gene Roddenberry's original vision. That space exploration would challenge not just our technological capabilities, but our understanding of existence itself. The film asks us, as V'ger asked, "Is this all that I am? Is there nothing more?" In a media landscape increasingly dominated by predictable franchise formulas, the motion picture's imperfect but ambitious reach towards something greater reminds us why we look to the stars in the first place, not just for adventure, but for perspective on our own humanity. What mysteries might we encounter that transform how we see ourselves? What connections might we forge with intelligences different from our own? These questions, first posed by Star Trek over 40 years ago, remain as relevant and compelling today as when the Enterprise first slowly, majestically emerged from space dock and into cinematic history. What cinematic space exploration captured your imagination? Has any film since matched the motion picture's sense of cosmic scale? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe for more deep dives into science fiction classics that changed how we see the universe.